The study of human anatomy has been carried out for centuries, yet it is something that quietly belongs to all of us, whether we read a medical text or not. Each person carries within them a complex world of structure and function, a hidden landscape that is at once mysterious and familiar. To begin a gentle journey into this subject is to look inward, softly, at the remarkable system that sustains our lives without asking for attention, without demanding that we notice every process that keeps us alive. It is a reminder that the body is not only a vessel but also a quiet companion, tirelessly keeping balance so that thought, feeling, and rest can occur. In this first part, we take our first steps into this exploration, allowing the mind to drift calmly as we observe, from a distance, the broad outlines of what the human body is and why it has fascinated generations of learners. When you pause for a moment, you may become aware of the body's steady presence, the pulse beneath your skin, the breath that moves without command, the warmth of your own blood flowing through countless vessels. All of these are quiet signals that you are living within a system far larger and more intricate than you often consider. Anatomy, in its most basic sense, is the description of that system. It is the study of what is there, the shapes, the positions, the connections of the many parts. Yet when spoken of gently, as we do now, it becomes more than a catalog of parts. It becomes a way of feeling into the order of life, an act of recognition that everything within you has a place and a purpose. The human body can be thought of as both simple and complex. At its foundation, it is composed of cells, the tiniest units of life, each one no larger than a speck of dust. These cells gather together in vast numbers, forming tissues and organs. Organs join in cooperation to build systems, and systems work together to sustain the whole. This layered organization is almost like a set of nesting dolls, one structure fitting within another, all working together seamlessly. For most of us, daily experience is at the level of organs, a heartbeat felt, a stomach that rumbles, a bone that aches when stressed. Yet beneath these experiences lie countless unseen processes, most of which unfold in perfect silence. When we speak of anatomy, we also touch upon physiology, the study of how these structures function. But here, at the beginning, we are not concerned with deep technical explanations. Instead, we simply rest with the thought that the body is designed to endure, to adapt, and to harmonize itself with the world outside. Every breath brings air in, every exhalation releases it, every beat of the heart distributes energy to the farthest edges of the body, even to the tiniest cells in the toes and fingers. The liver cleanses, the kidneys filter, the skin shields. Without any conscious decision, the body acts with quiet efficiency. There is something profoundly calming about realizing that this has been happening every moment of your life. From the instant you were born until this very second, you do not have to remind your heart to beat or instruct your muscles to twitch in order to breathe. Even while you drift into sleep, these functions carry on, undisturbed. The body, in its wisdom, sustains itself, asking only for rest, nourishment, and gentle care. The story of human anatomy is also a story of balance. Across history, people have described this balance in different ways. Ancient traditions spoke of humors and energies, while modern science describes hormones, neurotransmitters, and chemical pathways. Regardless of the language, the underlying truth remains the same. Life depends on equilibrium. Too much or too little of any element, whether oxygen, water, or warmth, can shift the body out of harmony. Yet even when changes occur, The body responds with subtle adjustments. Blood vessels widen or narrow, sweat appears or vanishes, the lungs draw in deeper breaths or grow still. These adjustments happen quietly, without any need for us to intervene. As we begin to walk through the body's systems in later parts of this lecture, we will see how each one plays a role in sustaining this harmony. For now, though, it is enough to rest in the thought that all of them are present in you right now, operating as a single, unified whole. Think of the body as a vast orchestra, each system an instrument contributing its notes. The lungs provide the quiet hum of air, the heart beats a steady drum, the nerves carry delicate whispers of sound from one part to another, and together they produce the music of life. You may not hear it, but it is always playing. It is also worth remembering that anatomy is not just about survival, but about presence. The body is what allows us to sense the world. Eyes capture light, ears carry sound, skin feels the softness of a fabric or the coolness of a breeze. Through these senses, the body gives us access to experience itself. Without them, we could not appreciate the fragrance of a flower, the taste of food, or the sound of a gentle stream. Anatomy is the structure that makes experience possible. Another calming thought is that, though the body is intricate, it is also resilient. Bones mend after being broken. Skin repairs itself after a cut. Muscles strengthen with use. Even the brain adapts and reshapes its connections in response to learning and memory. This quiet resilience reminds us that the body is not fragile but enduring, built to carry us through the cycles of change. There is a deep reassurance in this, the knowledge that even when difficulties arise, repair is often possible. The field of anatomy has also been a long human journey. Early thinkers and healers sought to understand the shapes and inner workings of the body, often without the tools to see beneath the skin. Over centuries, knowledge grew as careful observation and study revealed more. Today, we have detailed maps of every system, every organ, every tissue, down to the microscopic level. Yet even with all this knowledge, the essence of the body remains something simple: a home for life, a structure that breathes, grows, and rests. Here at the gentle beginning, we simply acknowledge this home. We acknowledge the steady flow of blood through arteries and veins, the breath moving in and out of the lungs, the skeleton giving shape, the muscles enabling motion, the nerves carrying sensation. All of this is part of you now, part of every quiet moment, whether you are awake or resting. And as you listen, perhaps you can imagine your body not as a set of parts to be analyzed, but as a single, unified companion. It has been with you from the beginning, and it will remain with you, always adapting, always balancing, always sustaining. This thought itself can be calming, to know that even in stillness, even in rest, the orchestra of your body plays on, gently and faithfully, carrying you through the rhythms of life. This is the soft opening to the study of human anatomy, a simple reminder of presence, of resilience, and of harmony. In the coming parts, we will move slowly through the layers of organization, the systems that define life, and the delicate structures that give form to our existence. But for now, it is enough to know that within you is an entire universe of activity, unfolding quietly, endlessly, and beautifully. 2. Layers of life. When we look at the human body, we may be tempted to think of it only as what we can see: the skin, the shape of the arms and legs, the face with its expressions. But beneath the surface lies an intricate order, a quiet layering that reveals how life is organized. Scientists call this the hierarchy of biological organization, but spoken gently, it is simply the idea that the body is built in levels, each one supporting the next. From the tiniest particles to the wholeness of the person, the body is a carefully arranged system, both simple and profound. At the most basic level, life begins with atoms and molecules. Atoms are the smallest units of matter, building blocks from which everything around us is composed. They join together to form molecules, which are the materials of living things. A molecule of water, for example, formed of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, is a simple structure, yet no life could exist without it. Proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids are more complex molecules, each carrying essential roles in the body's quiet chemistry. Though they are invisible to the naked eye, they are the foundation of all that follows. From molecules come cells, and here we find the first true sign of life. A cell is often called the basic unit of living things. Each one is a small, self-contained world, with its own boundary, its own machinery, and its own energy. Within it are organelles, tiny structures with specialized functions, such as the mitochondria that quietly release energy, or the nucleus that holds the instructions of life written in DNA. Even though a cell is microscopic, it performs all the activities that define living beings, taking in nutrients, producing energy, growing, responding to its environment, and dividing to make more cells. Cells do not work in isolation. In the human body, trillions of them gather together in cooperation. When cells of the same kind group together, they form tissues. A tissue is like a community of cells with a shared purpose. Muscle tissue contracts and relaxes, allowing movement. Nervous tissue carries signals, like whispers passing between distant places. Connective tissue holds things together, providing strength and support. Epithelial tissue lines, surfaces, forming protective layers on skin, lungs, and the digestive tract. Each type of tissue is different in structure and role, yet all are essential for the body's quiet harmony. When several tissues come together in specific arrangements, they form organs. An organ is more than just a collection of tissues. It is a structure with a distinct role in the body's story. The heart, for instance, contains muscle tissue to pump, connective tissue for structure, nervous tissue to regulate rhythm, and epithelial tissue to line its surfaces. Together, these tissues make the heart a functional organ, one that sustains circulation with its steady beat. Similarly, the stomach is an organ built from layers of tissue, each contributing to the task of breaking down food into nourishment. In this way, organs are both specialized and cooperative, each one playing a role within the greater body. When several organs join forces to carry out related tasks, they form organ systems. The digestive system, for example, includes the mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, liver, and pancreas, all working together to turn food into energy and building materials. The circulatory system is made up of the heart, blood, and vessels, carrying oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. The respiratory system brings in oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. Each system has its own main purpose, but none stands alone. They are like chapters in the same book, each necessary to tell the full story of life. The complete human body, then, is an organism, the sum of all systems, organs, tissues, cells, and molecules. At this level, we see the wholeness of a person. the quiet unity of structure and function. Though built from countless small parts, the body operates as a single being. This is what allows us to move, to think, to feel, and to rest. Beyond the individual, life organizes itself further. Groups of people form populations, living together in shared spaces. Different populations interact to create communities, and communities, along with their environments, form ecosystems. These broader layers remind us that our bodies are not isolated, but part of a greater web of life. Just as a single cell belongs to the body, each human belongs to the living world, connected to others through invisible bonds of biology and ecology. What makes this layering so calming to reflect upon is its orderliness. Atoms form molecules, molecules form cells, cells form tissues, tissues form organs, organs form systems, and systems form the whole body. Each level depends on the one before it, and each one supports the level above. It is a gentle progression, a structure of life that is both logical and beautiful. Nothing stands alone, and everything has its place. Consider for a moment how a single change at one level can ripple upward through the others. A small molecule of oxygen enters through the lungs and moves into the bloodstream. It is carried to a cell, where it allows energy to be released from food. That energy powers the contraction of a muscle fiber, which joins with others to move the hand, which lifts a cup to the lips, which allows more oxygen and water to enter the body. In this way, the smallest and largest levels of life are linked in an endless cycle. This interdependence is known in science as emergence, the appearance of new properties at higher levels of organization that are not present at lower ones. A single heart cell can contract, but only when millions of them work together does a steady heartbeat emerge. A single neuron can fire, but only a network of billions produces thought, memory, or emotion. The body's layers create not only structure, but also the emergence of qualities that make us who we are. The beauty of these layers is that they give us a way to understand the body without feeling overwhelmed. Instead of facing the whole complexity at once, we can move slowly, from the smallest to the largest, from the invisible to the visible. Each step builds upon the last, like climbing a gentle staircase. At the bottom are atoms and molecules, silent and unseen. A little higher are cells, living worlds within themselves. Then tissues, organs, and systems, each with their roles. And finally, the complete organism, a human being at rest, alive, and whole. As we end this part, it is worth pausing with the thought that you, as you are now, embody all these layers. Within you are atoms that have existed for billions of years, recycled from the earth itself. Within you are molecules that form proteins and DNA, carrying the code of life. Within you are trillions of cells, working quietly together. Within you are organs and systems, balancing themselves in harmony. And in the wholeness of your body, you are an organism, unique and complete, connected to the greater fabric of life. The layers of life are not separate, but woven together into a single tapestry. To know this gently is to feel a sense of calm belonging to the body you inhabit and to the world that sustains you. 3. The cellular foundation. When we think of the human body, we often imagine it in terms of large, visible features, arms and legs, eyes and skin, the shape of the face, or the movement of breath. Yet, at the very heart of all these visible forms lies something far smaller, something that cannot be seen without a microscope: the cell. The cell is often called the foundation of life, the smallest unit that still holds all the characteristics of being alive. Every heartbeat, every thought, every sensation is made possible because of cells working quietly in unison. To explore this level of life is to journey inward into the tiniest realms of structure, where simplicity and complexity coexist in perfect balance. Each human body contains trillions of cells, an almost unimaginable number. Some estimates place the figure at around 37 trillion, though the exact number is difficult to pin down. What is important is that each one of these cells is alive, carrying out tasks essential for the well-being of the entire organism. Some live for only a few days, while others endure for years. Some are small and uniform, while others are long and branching, stretching across great distances within the body. And yet, despite their variety, they all share a set of basic features, as if each one were a variation on a common theme. At the boundary of every cell lies the plasma membrane, a delicate but essential barrier. This thin layer separates the inside of the cell from the outside world. It allows nutrients to enter, waste to leave, and signals to pass through, maintaining a steady environment within. Without this boundary, the cell could not survive, for it is the careful control of what enters and exits that sustains life. The membrane is not rigid but fluid, like a flexible skin. It is built of lipids and proteins arranged in patterns that shift and flow, creating a living surface that both protects and communicates. Inside the cell, we find a watery interior known as the cytoplasm. Suspended within this fluid are countless organelles, each with a specialized task. One of the most important is the nucleus, the command center of the cell. Within the nucleus rests DNA, the genetic material that holds instructions for building and maintaining the body. Long strands of DNA coil into chromosomes, carrying the information needed for growth, repair, and reproduction. In a gentle sense, the nucleus is like a library, preserving the scripts that guide life across generations. Scattered throughout the cytoplasm are mitochondria, often described as the powerhouses of the cell. These tiny structures take in oxygen and nutrients, transforming them into energy that fuels all cellular activity. Without mitochondria, muscles could not contract, nerves could not send signals, and the body could not sustain itself. They hum along constantly, releasing energy in the form of molecules known as ATP, a quiet currency that pays for every process of life. Other organelles play equally vital roles. The endoplasmic reticulum forms a network of folded membranes, where proteins and lipids are assembled. Some of these proteins are sent to the Golgi apparatus, another organelle, which packages and distributes them to their destinations. Lysosomes act as recyclers, breaking down worn-out components and reusing their parts. Tiny ribosomes, scattered throughout the cytoplasm, serve as the factories of protein, translating the code of DNA into the structures that give the body form and function. Each organelle has its place, and together they form a city-like system of activity, ordered yet fluid, busy yet balanced. There are two broad categories of cells in the living world: prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Prokaryotic cells, such as bacteria, are simple and lack a nucleus. Eukaryotic cells, which make up plants, animals, and humans, are more complex, containing a nucleus and a variety of organelles. The human body is built entirely of eukaryotic cells, each one a miniature world with its own boundaries and machinery. Though small, these cells embody the essence of life, carrying out processes that echo across every level of biology. Cells also differ by type and function. Muscle cells are elongated and filled with fibers that allow contraction. Nerve cells, or neurons, stretch into long branches that carry signals across the body. Skin cells form protective layers, while blood cells drift through vessels, carrying oxygen or guarding against infection. Each type of cell is adapted to its role, shaped by both structure and purpose. It is as though the body has recruited an immense variety of specialists, each one trained to perform a single task with quiet precision. Another remarkable feature of cells is their ability to reproduce. Through a process called mitosis, a single cell divides into two identical daughters, each carrying the same set of instructions. This process allows growth and repair, ensuring that tissues can heal and the body can renew itself. In another process, meiosis, cells divide in a way that creates diversity, producing reproductive cells with half the usual number of chromosomes. These processes ensure continuity of life, both for the individual and for the species. Cells also communicate constantly. They send signals in the form of chemical messengers, proteins, and even electrical impulses. One cell may release a molecule that drifts through the bloodstream to influence a distant partner. Another may transmit an impulse along its surface, passing information in the blink of an eye. This ceaseless conversation allows the body to act as a whole, with cells working together in harmony. In silence, they coordinate actions, adapt to changes, and respond to needs. It is humbling to think that every sensation, every movement, every moment of thought begins at this microscopic level. When you move your hand, it is muscle cells contracting in unison. When you recall a memory, it is neurons passing signals along their branches. When you heal from a cut, it is skin cells dividing and migrating to close the wound. These small foundations give rise to everything we experience as life. Even death at the cellular level is part of life's balance. Cells that are no longer useful, or that have sustained damage, often undergo a process known as programmed cell death. This is not a violent event, but a quiet and orderly departure, making room for new cells to take their place. In this way, the body preserves its harmony, maintaining renewal without chaos. The cellular foundation, then, is both intricate and simple. Each cell is a small living entity, self-sufficient in many ways, yet dependent on others. Together, they form tissues, organs, and systems, rising, step by step, into the wholeness of the human body. To reflect on cells is to recognize the beauty of scale, how something so small can contribute to something so vast, how countless unseen worlds can give rise to the single being that is you. As you rest with this thought, perhaps you can imagine your own body at this level. Trillions of tiny structures, each alive, each quietly fulfilling its role. They do not clamor for attention. They do not pause or rest. They continue faithfully, sustaining you with their silent work. And all of this happens without you needing to instruct them, without you needing to even be aware. It is a foundation so stable that it allows the mind to drift, to dream, to sleep, and to awaken again to another day. This is the cellular foundation, the smallest level of life that still holds the spark of being. In the next part, we will see how these cells, when gathered together, form tissues, the fabrics of the body, woven with care, soft yet strong, binding us into form. 4. Tissues of the body. When cells gather together, they do not exist as scattered individuals, each one separate and alone. Instead, they join in communities, cooperating with one another to form larger structures that carry out tasks too great for any single cell to achieve. These communities are called tissues. The word tissue itself comes from an old root meaning to weave, and this is an image worth keeping in mind. Tissues are the fabrics of the body, woven from countless cells, aligned and layered in patterns that give the human form its strength, flexibility, and resilience. In this part of our journey, we pause to rest with the idea of tissues, the quiet materials from which all organs are made. Scientists generally recognize 4 major types of tissue in the human body: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. Each has its own character, its own quiet personality, shaped by the tasks it must perform. Together, they provide the structure and function of every organ, working in harmony to sustain the body as a whole. Epithelial tissue is perhaps the simplest to imagine, for it is the covering and lining of the body. It forms the surface of the skin, protecting us from the outside world. It lines the hollow spaces within, such as the airways, the digestive tract, and the urinary passages, creating boundaries that separate inner from outer. This tissue is composed of tightly packed cells, arranged like bricks in a wall, forming barriers that shield, secrete, and absorb. In some places, epithelial tissue is thin and delicate, as in the air sacs of the lungs, where gases must pass freely in and out. In other places, it is thicker and layered, as in the skin of the palms and soles, where protection against friction is needed. Always, though, it acts as an interface between the body and its environment, allowing exchange, but maintaining safety. Connective tissue is different in both form and function. It is less about covering and more about binding, linking, and supporting. It is the glue and scaffolding of the body, the framework that holds everything together. Connective tissue includes bone, with its rigid strength, and cartilage, with its smooth, cushioning surfaces. It also includes tendons and ligaments, which tie muscles to bones and bones to each other, creating both stability and movement. Blood, surprisingly, is also considered a connective tissue, for it carries nutrients, gases, and signals across the body, linking distant regions in a web of circulation. Connective tissue is diverse, but all its forms serve the same purpose: to connect, to support, and to give shape. Muscle tissue is more familiar still, for it is the tissue of motion, composed of fibers that can contract and relax. Muscle tissue makes possible every movement of the body, from the beating of the heart to the smallest flicker of expression on the face. There are 3 types of muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle attaches to bones and enables voluntary movements, the motions we choose to make. Smooth muscle, found in the walls of internal organs such as the stomach and intestines, works without conscious control, moving food along, adjusting blood flow, and maintaining the gentle rhythms of life. Cardiac muscle, found only in the heart, beats tirelessly throughout a lifetime, propelling blood with quiet regularity. Though muscle tissue is often associated with strength and action, its true beauty lies in its rhythm and its endurance, carrying out countless contractions without rest, hour after hour, day after day. Nervous tissue is the most delicate of all, yet also among the most essential. It is made up of neurons and their supporting cells, woven into networks that carry information throughout the body. Neurons are shaped like trees, with branching dendrites that receive signals and long axons that send them outward. Together, they create pathways of communication, transmitting messages with both speed and precision. Nervous tissue forms the brain, spinal cord, and nerves, linking sensation to response, thought to action. It is through nervous tissue that we perceive the world, remember the past, and imagine the future. Without it, the body would still exist, but it would be silent, unfeeling, and unaware. With it, the body is alive not only in function but in experience. Though these four categories are often taught as separate, in reality, they are woven together seamlessly. An organ, for instance, rarely contains just one kind of tissue. The stomach, to take one example, is lined with epithelial tissue that secretes enzymes and protects against acid. Beneath this lies smooth muscle tissue, which churns and moves food. Connective tissue holds everything in place, while nervous tissue coordinates contractions and responses. Together, these tissues create a single organ with a specific role in the larger digestive system. The same is true of the heart, the lungs, the skin, and every other structure within us. Tissues, woven together, give rise to organs, which then form systems, which then form the organism itself. It is calming to think of tissues in this way, as threads woven into fabric. They are not chaotic, not random, but arranged with quiet order. Each cell plays its part, contributing to the larger whole. Each tissue serves a purpose, and together they form the substance of life. This sense of weaving, of parts bound together into a greater pattern, is a reminder of the body's harmony, a harmony that continues, whether we notice it or not. There is also a softness in realizing how tissues renew themselves. Skin cells at the surface are constantly being shed and replaced by new ones from below. Blood cells are born in the marrow, circulate for a time, and then fade, giving way to others. Even bone tissue, which may seem permanent, is constantly being broken down and rebuilt, maintaining strength while adapting to the stresses of life. Tissues are not static fabrics but living ones, continually repairing and renewing, maintaining their integrity over time. Some tissues are specialized for protection, others for motion, others for thought and sensation. Yet none is more important than another. Each has its role, and together they create the balance required for life. This cooperation is silent and invisible, unfolding within you now. Your tissues are at work even as you rest, sustaining your body's shape, strength, movement, and awareness. As you drift with these thoughts, you might imagine your body as a tapestry, countless threads interwoven to form patterns both simple and intricate. No single thread is enough, but together they create the wholeness of the design. That is what tissues are, the woven fabrics of life, binding cells into unity and creating the materials from which all else is built. This is the quiet story of tissues, the middle ground between the tiny world of the cell and the larger world of organs. In the next part, we will explore how these tissues come together to form the skeleton, the framework of the body, which supports and shapes all that rests upon it. 5. The skeletal framework. Within the body lies a structure so constant and quiet that we rarely stop to notice it. It is there when we stand, when we sit, when we walk, when we sleep. It is the framework that supports us, the scaffolding that holds our form together and the protector of our most delicate organs. This is the skeleton. Far from being a lifeless collection of bones, it is a living, dynamic system, endlessly renewing itself, silently adapting to the demands we place upon it. To reflect on the skeletal system is to recognize the deep stability it provides, a stability that allows us to move through the world with strength, balance, and grace. The human skeleton is composed of 206 bones in the adult form, though the number is higher at birth. Infants are born with more than 300 bones, many of which fuse together as growth occurs. This gradual merging reflects the skeleton's adaptability. It begins as a collection of smaller parts, then consolidates into stronger units as the body matures. Even in adulthood, bones are not fixed and unchanging. They are living tissues, constantly breaking down and rebuilding in a quiet cycle known as remodeling. This cycle ensures that the skeleton remains both strong and resilient throughout life. Bones are remarkable in their construction. On the outside, they appear hard and rigid, yet inside, they are light and porous. The outer layer, called compact bone, provides strength and structure, while the inner layer, known as spongy bone, contains spaces that make bones lighter and capable of absorbing stress. Within many bones lies bone marrow, a soft tissue where blood cells are produced. This means that the skeleton is not only a framework for movement, but also a cradle of life, giving rise to the cells that carry oxygen, fight infection, and clot blood. The skeleton is often divided into two main regions: the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton forms the central column of the body. It includes the skull, which protects the brain, the vertebral column, which houses the spinal cord, and the rib cage, which shelters the heart and lungs. These bones provide protection for the most vital organs, ensuring that even as we move, the most fragile parts of us remain safe. The appendicular skeleton, by contrast, includes the limbs and the girdles that attach them to the central body. These bones enable motion, reaching outward into the world, carrying us forward step by step, gesture by gesture. The skull, in particular, is a structure of quiet wonder. It is not a single bone, but a collection of more than 20, joined together by sutures that interlock like puzzle pieces. These sutures are immovable in adulthood, but in infancy, they are flexible, allowing the skull to expand as the brain grows. The skull not only protects the brain, but also shapes the face, housing the senses of sight, smell, hearing, and taste. In its silent strength, it forms the gateway between the inner world of thought and the outer world of experience. The vertebral column, or spine, is another marvel of design. It is composed of 33 vertebrae stacked in a gentle curve, separated by discs of cartilage that provide cushioning and flexibility. This column supports the head, allows the body to bend and twist, and protects the spinal cord, the delicate highway of nerves that connects brain to body. Its curves are not flaws but features, absorbing shock and distributing weight as we move. Without them, even the simplest motions would strain the body beyond endurance. The rib cage, formed by 12 pairs of ribs and the sternum, is both protective and dynamic. It creates a shield around the heart and lungs, yet it is flexible enough to expand and contract with each breath. Every inhale lifts the ribs slightly, creating space for air to enter the lungs, and every exhale allows them to fall back into place. In this way, the skeleton itself participates in the rhythm of breathing, quietly moving with each cycle of life. The appendicular skeleton extends outward, giving us the gift of movement and interaction. The arms and hands allow us to reach, grasp. The legs and feet carry us, step by step, across the landscapes of our lives. Each limb is composed of long bones, such as the humerus in the arm or the femur in the thigh, connected by joints that permit motion. At the ends of these bones lie smaller, intricate structures, the carpals of the wrist, the tarsals of the ankle, that give fine control and stability. These bones, large and small, are connected in ways that balance strength with flexibility, allowing us both power and delicacy. Joints are the meeting places of bones, and they come in many forms. Some, like the sutures of the skull, are immovable, designed only for protection. Others, like the hinge joints of the elbows and knees, allow bending and straightening. Ball and socket joints, such as those in the shoulders and hips, permit wide ranges of motion, letting us rotate, swing, and turn. Cartilage cushions these joints, while ligaments hold them steady, preventing injury. Every gesture, from the smallest turn of a wrist to the stride of a walk, depends on this quiet cooperation between bones, cartilage, and connective tissues. The skeleton also serves as a reservoir for minerals, particularly calcium and phosphorus. These minerals give bones their strength, but they are also needed elsewhere in the body. When levels drop in the blood, bones release them. When levels are high, bones absorb them. In this way, the skeleton participates in the body's balance, silently regulating the chemistry of life. What is most striking, perhaps, is how alive bones truly are. Though they may seem solid and permanent, they are constantly being reshaped. Specialized cells break down old bone tissue, while others build new tissue in its place. This process adapts to the stresses placed on the body. Bones grow stronger with use, aligning themselves to carry weight and resist strain. They also weaken when unused, reminding us of the importance of gentle movement in sustaining their health. To think of the skeleton in this way is to see it not as something rigid and lifeless, but as something flexible, dynamic, and responsive. It is the silent framework that allows us to stand upright, to move gracefully, and to protect what is most vital within us. It is the hidden architecture of our lives, carrying us from infancy to old age, adapting always, renewing always, steady and faithful beneath the surface. As you rest with this image, you may picture the skeleton not as something stark or unsettling, but as a quiet ally. It holds you gently, gives you shape, and supports you without question. It is always with you, from the first steps of childhood to the calm of rest. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how this framework is animated, how the muscles, woven through and attached to the bones, bring motion, strength, and rhythm to the human form. 6. Muscles in motion. If the skeleton is the framework of the body, then the muscles are the living fabric that brings that framework to life. Bones alone are silent, unmoving, like the beams of a house. But muscles, attached to those bones, give rise to movement. They allow us to walk and run, to reach and lift, to smile, speak, and breathe. They are the source of our posture, our strength, and even the subtle adjustments that keep us balanced without effort. The story of muscles is the story of motion, but it is also a story of rhythm, endurance, and quiet persistence. There are three main types of muscle tissue in the human body: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Each has its own qualities and purposes, but all share a common feature: the ability to contract. This contraction, a shortening of the fibers within the tissue, is the simple mechanism from which all bodily movement arises. With each contraction and release, muscles create force, and that force is transmitted through bones and tissues into motion. Skeletal muscle is the most familiar. It attaches to bones by tendons and allows voluntary movement, meaning we can consciously control its action. When you raise your hand, step forward, or turn your head, skeletal muscle is at work. These muscles are composed of long fibers arranged in bundles, each fiber capable of contracting in unison with its neighbors. Together, they create strength and precision. The arrangement of skeletal muscles around joints gives rise to the mechanics of motion. Flexors bend limbs, extensors straighten them, abductors move them away from the body, and adductors draw them inward. With hundreds of skeletal muscles working in cooperation, the body achieves an astonishing range of movement, from the power of lifting heavy weight to the delicacy of writing with a pen. Smooth muscle, by contrast, is not under voluntary control. It is found in the walls of hollow organs, the stomach, intestines, blood vessels, and airways. Its contractions are slow, steady, and often unnoticed, yet they are no less essential. Smooth muscle moves food along the digestive tract, adjusts the flow of blood through vessels, and regulates the size of airways as we breathe. Because it works automatically, smooth muscle allows life to continue without conscious thought. Even as you rest or sleep, smooth muscle carries on its quiet tasks, maintaining balance within the body. Cardiac muscle is a special form, found only in the heart. Like skeletal muscle, it is striated, meaning its fibers are arranged in patterns of light and dark bands. But like smooth muscle, it contracts involuntarily. What makes cardiac muscle unique is its endurance. From the moment of birth until the final heartbeat, it never rests. The cells of cardiac muscle are interconnected in a network that allows them to contract in unison, creating the steady rhythm of the heart. This rhythm, once begun, continues throughout life, a pulse that drives blood through the vessels, sustaining every other system of the body. The ability of muscles to contract arises from structures within their fibers. At the microscopic level, proteins called actin and myosin slide past one another, shortening the fiber. This process is fueled by energy from molecules of ATP produced within the mitochondria of cells. When a nerve signal reaches a muscle fiber, it triggers this sliding action, causing contraction. When the signal stops, the fibers relax, and the muscle lengthens again. This cycle of contraction and relaxation happens countless times each moment, in patterns large and small, voluntary and involuntary. Though muscles are often associated with strength, their role extends beyond force. They also maintain posture, holding the body upright, even when we are still. Muscles of the back and abdomen contract gently to keep us balanced, adjusting constantly with subtle shifts that we hardly notice. Without this quiet activity, standing, sitting, and even breathing would be impossible. Muscles also play a role in generating heat. When they contract, they release energy not only as motion, but also as warmth. This heat contributes to maintaining body temperature, especially in cold conditions. In extreme cold, muscles shiver rapid, involuntary contractions that generate additional warmth. In this way, Muscle activity contributes to the body's homeostasis, keeping internal conditions stable even as the environment changes. The diversity of skeletal muscles reflects their many roles. Some are large and powerful, like the quadriceps in the thigh, capable of lifting and propelling the body. Others are small and delicate, like the muscles that move the eyes, allowing them to track smoothly in any direction. The muscles of the face, though small, create countless expressions, giving voice to emotion and communication. Each muscle, regardless of size, is essential, contributing to the harmony of the whole. Muscles work in pairs and groups, balancing one another to create smooth, controlled movement. When one muscle contracts to pull a bone in one direction, its partner relaxes, ready to pull the bone back again. This cooperation prevents strain and allows for fluid motion. The biceps and triceps of the upper arm are a familiar example. One flexes the elbow, the other extends it, alternating in a balanced rhythm. This principle of opposition is repeated throughout the body, a quiet choreography that ensures both power and grace. Like bones, muscles adapt to the demands placed upon them. With use, they grow stronger, increasing in size and efficiency. With disuse, they weaken and shrink. This adaptability is a reminder of the body's resilience, its ability to respond to challenges and recover from rest. Muscles are not fixed, but living tissues, shaped by the patterns of life. They remember effort, respond to care, and sustain the movements that define daily existence. What makes muscles especially calming to reflect upon is their constancy. Even as you lie still, muscles continue to work. The diaphragm contracts and relaxes, drawing breath in and out. The heart beats, driven by cardiac muscle. Blood vessels adjust their diameter, guided by smooth muscle. These motions do not require thought. They unfold on their own. Quietly, they form the background rhythm of life, a rhythm as steady as the rise and fall of the tide. To think of the body's muscles in this way is to see them not as sources of strain or fatigue, but as faithful companions. They are the instruments of motion, tuned to balance and harmony, carrying us through the simplest gestures and the greatest feats. They respond to every thought, every signal, every need, seamlessly and without complaint. They are always present, always ready, always adapting. As you rest with these thoughts, perhaps you can imagine your own muscles, not in tension, but in ease. Imagine them lengthening and softening, supporting you gently, without strain. They continue their quiet work even now, holding you upright, breathing for you, circulating warmth through your body. They ask nothing more than rest and renewal, carrying you into the next moment and the next. This is the story of muscles in motion, tissues of strength, rhythm, and endurance, woven through the framework of the skeleton, animating it with life. In the next part, we will turn to the circulatory system, the flowing network that carries oxygen and nourishment through the body, sustaining muscles, bones, and every cell with its steady current. 7. The circulatory flow. Deep within the body, there is a rhythm that never ceases. It begins in the earliest days of life, when we are still forming in the quiet of the womb, and it continues without pause until our final moment. This rhythm is the heartbeat, the steady sound of the circulatory system in motion. The circulatory system is not merely a collection of vessels and a pumping organ. It is the river of life that flows within us, carrying oxygen, nourishment, warmth, and signals to every corner of the body. It is both a transport system and a symbol of constancy. an unbroken flow that sustains all other systems. At the center of this system is the heart. Though small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, the heart is one of the most remarkable organs in the body. It is a hollow muscle, divided into 4 chambers, each with a specific role. The 2 upper chambers, called atria, receive blood returning to the heart, while the 2 lower chambers, called ventricles, pump it back out. The right side of the heart handles blood that is low in oxygen, sending it to the lungs to be refreshed, while the left side pumps oxygen-rich blood to the rest of the body. This division ensures that blood flows in a continuous circuit, always moving, always delivering what is needed. The heart's rhythm is both automatic and adaptable. Within the muscle lies a cluster of specialized cells called the sinoatrial node, often called the natural pacemaker. These cells generate electrical signals that spread across the heart, causing it to contract in a regular pattern. This steady beat continues without conscious control, adjusting to the body's needs. When at rest, the heart slows, conserving energy. When active, it quickens, supplying muscles with more oxygen. It responds silently, moment by moment, without our ever needing to command it. Blood flows from the heart into vessels, forming an intricate network that extends to even the smallest cells. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, branching into smaller arterioles and finally into capillaries, the tiniest vessels of all. Here, in the thin walls of capillaries, the true exchange occurs. Oxygen and nutrients pass into the tissues, while carbon dioxide and waste products are collected. This quiet transaction takes place in every corner of the body, sustaining trillions of cells at once. From the capillaries, blood returns through venules and veins, flowing gently back to the heart to begin the cycle anew. The blood itself is a remarkable medium. It is not a simple fluid, but a mixture of specialized components, each with a vital role. Red blood cells are the most numerous. Shaped like tiny discs, they carry oxygen bound to a protein called hemoglobin. With each breath, they collect oxygen in the lungs and deliver it to tissues throughout the body. Once they release their cargo, they pick up carbon dioxide, returning it to the lungs to be exhaled. This continuous shuttle ensures that every cell has the oxygen it needs for energy, and that waste gases never accumulate. White blood cells, though fewer in number, are guardians of the body. They patrol the bloodstream, watching for signs of infection or injury. When they detect a threat, they act swiftly, defending against invaders and aiding in repair. Platelets, another component, serve as the body's sealers. When a vessel is damaged, platelets gather at the site, forming a clot that stops bleeding and begins the healing process. Suspended within plasma, the pale fluid that makes up most of blood's volume, these cells create a balanced mixture, part nourishment, part defense, part communication. The circulatory system is not limited to delivering oxygen and food. It also carries hormones, the body's chemical messengers, from one organ to another. It distributes warmth, maintaining even temperature throughout the body. It transports waste to the kidneys and liver for removal, cleansing the body of what it no longer needs. In essence, the circulatory system is the body's great connector, linking every system, every organ, every cell. Without its flow, no other process could continue. There are 2 main circuits within this system, the pulmonary and the systemic. The pulmonary circuit is the smaller loop, carrying blood from the heart to the lungs and back. In the lungs, blood releases carbon dioxide and absorbs oxygen, becoming refreshed. The systemic circuit is the larger loop, carrying this oxygen-rich blood to the entire body. Together, these circuits form a closed system, a loop that never ends as long as life continues. The vessels themselves are marvels of design. Arteries have thick, muscular walls, able to withstand the high pressure of blood being pumped out of the heart. Veins, carrying blood back under lower pressure, have thinner walls and valves that prevent backflow, ensuring blood always travels in the right direction. Capillaries are so fine that red blood cells must pass through them in single file, maximizing the exchange of gases and nutrients. These vessels, in their countless numbers, reach every tissue, forming a vast, intricate map of life. It is humbling to think of the scale of this system. If all the blood vessels in one human body were laid end to end, they would stretch for thousands of miles, circling the earth more than once. Yet within the body, they are coiled and folded, branching and reconnecting, filling every space without our ever being aware. In silence, they carry the flow of life, moment by moment, year after year. The circulatory system is also deeply rhythmic. With each beat of the heart, blood surges forward, creating a pulse that can be felt in the wrist or neck. This pulse is a gentle reminder of the system's constancy, a sign that the flow continues. Even at rest, the heart pumps liters of blood each minute, tirelessly sustaining the body. During sleep, the heart slows but never stops, ensuring that cells remain nourished even in the stillness of night. To reflect on this system is to sense the calm reliability it offers. It is always present, always moving, always sustaining. We may not feel it directly, but without it, life would end in moments. Instead, it continues faithfully, a quiet river within, linking all parts of us together in a single, flowing whole. As you rest with this image, you might picture the circulatory system as a great network of streams and rivers, with the heart as the central source. From that source, currents flow outward, reaching every corner of the body, delivering what is needed and carrying away what is not. They return again to the source, renewed, and the cycle begins once more. It is a rhythm, as natural as the tide, as constant as the rising and setting of the sun. This is the story of the circulatory flow, the silent river of life within. In the next part, we will follow another rhythm, just as essential, the breath of life, exploring how air enters the lungs, how oxygen enters the blood, and how breathing itself sustains the quiet harmony of the body. 8. The breath of life. Breathing is one of the simplest and most constant acts of life, so familiar that it often escapes our awareness. We draw air in, we let air out, again and again, without thought, without command. Yet behind this ordinary act lies a system of profound importance. The respiratory system. It is the bridge between the inner and outer worlds, bringing oxygen into the body and releasing carbon dioxide back into the air. This exchange, quiet and continuous, sustains every cell. To reflect on breathing is to rest with the realization that life is carried on the gentle rise and fall of breath. Air begins its journey at the openings of the nose and mouth. The nose, lined with hairs and mucus, filters dust and particles, warming and moistening the air before it passes deeper. This is the first act of protection, ensuring that what enters is softened, purified, and ready to nourish. From here, the air travels into the pharynx, the common passage for food and breath. and then moves through the larynx, where the vocal cords rest. Though the larynx is the seat of voice, it also protects the airway, ensuring that food and liquid do not enter the path of breathing. Beyond the larynx lies the trachea, or windpipe, a sturdy tube kept open by rings of cartilage. The trachea divides into two bronchi, each leading to a lung. Within the lungs, these bronchi branch again and again, like the branches of a tree, becoming narrower with each division. At last, they end in tiny clusters of air sacs called alveoli. It is here, at the level of the alveoli, that the true miracle of breathing occurs. The alveoli are delicate structures, their walls only a single cell thick. Around each alveolus is a network of capillaries, the tiniest blood vessels. As air fills the sacs, oxygen diffuses across the thin membrane into the blood, while carbon dioxide passes in the opposite direction, leaving the blood to be exhaled. This exchange is gentle, silent, and constant. With every breath, oxygen enters, and with every exhale, carbon dioxide departs. Though we may not feel it, this invisible transaction sustains every process of the body. The act of breathing itself is powered by muscles, most notably the diaphragm. This dome-shaped muscle sits beneath the lungs, separating the chest from the abdomen. When it contracts, it flattens downward, creating space in the chest cavity. Air rushes in to fill the lungs. When the diaphragm relaxes, it rises again, and air is gently expelled. This quiet rhythm continues without pause, coordinated by centers in the brainstem that regulate breathing automatically. Even when we are lost in thought or asleep in deepest rest, the diaphragm continues to contract and relax, ensuring the flow of air never ceases. Other muscles assist in breathing as well. The intercostal muscles, lying between the ribs, expand and contract the chest, lifting and lowering the rib cage. In moments of greater need, such as during exertion, additional muscles of the neck, shoulders, and abdomen join in, deepening and quickening the breath. Yet in rest, the diaphragm and intercostals are enough, sustaining life with little effort. The lungs themselves are soft and spongy, filling much of the chest cavity. They are not identical. The right lung is divided into 3 lobes, while the left has 2, leaving space for the heart. Each lobe is further divided into smaller segments, an intricate arrangement that allows maximum surface area for gas exchange. Indeed, if all the alveoli of the lungs were spread flat, their surface would cover an area the size of a tennis court. This vast expanse ensures that oxygen enters the blood efficiently, supporting the immense needs of the body. Breathing is more than a mechanical act. It is tied deeply to the rhythms of life. With each breath, oxygen fuels the production of energy within cells, allowing muscles to contract, nerves to fire, and tissues to repair. With each exhalation, waste gases are carried away, maintaining balance within the body. Breathing also influences the mind. Slow, steady breaths calm the nervous system, easing tension and inviting rest. Rapid, shallow breaths prepare the body for action, heightening alertness and energy. In this way, breathing bridges the body and mind, carrying both function and feeling. The respiratory system also carries protective mechanisms. Tiny hairs called cilia line the airways, moving rhythmically to sweep dust, mucus, and microbes upward, away from the lungs. Coughing and sneezing clear irritants forcefully, protecting the delicate alveoli from harm. The lungs are not only organs of exchange, but also guardians, ensuring that the breath remains clean and safe. What is most soothing to reflect upon is how little we must do to sustain this process. Breathing happens on its own, guided by centers in the medulla and pons, regions of the brainstem that monitor levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood. When carbon dioxide rises, the body responds by breathing faster, releasing it. When levels fall, the breath slows. This automatic regulation ensures balance without our awareness, yet we also retain some control. We can hold the breath for a moment, sigh deeply, or slow it with intention. This dual nature, automatic and voluntary, makes breathing a unique and gentle bridge between body and will. The cycle of breath is also a cycle of connection. With each inhale, we draw in the air that plants and trees release, rich with oxygen. With each exhale, we release carbon dioxide, which plants in turn use to grow. In this way, breathing links us not only to our own life, but to the greater web of life on Earth. Every breath we take is part of a shared exchange, a quiet partnership with the natural world. As you rest with this image, you might picture the breath as a tide within you, flowing in and out, rising and falling. It is a rhythm older than thought, older than memory, a rhythm that began before you were born and will continue as long as you live. Each breath is both ordinary and miraculous, sustaining you without effort, nourishing you without demand. This is the story of the breath of life, the gentle act that sustains the body in every moment. In the next part, we will follow the breath further into the pathways of nourishment, exploring the digestive system and how it transforms the food we eat into the energy that fuels every breath, every motion, every thought. 9. The nervous pathways. Within the human body lies a network more intricate than any woven cloth, more vast than any city of lights. It is a system that carries information in an instant, guiding thought, sensation, and motion. This is the nervous system, the body's communication web, where signals travel quietly along delicate pathways, linking the outer world to the inner self. To reflect on this system is to rest with the realization that everything we perceive, every movement we make, and every memory we hold depends upon this silent, unseen network. At the center of the nervous system is the brain, a soft organ enclosed within the shelter of the skull. The brain is the seat of thought, emotion, memory, and awareness. Its surface, folded and ridged, contains billions of neurons, each one a tiny messenger. These neurons connect in patterns so complex that they give rise to consciousness itself. Though each signal is only a flicker of electricity, beneath the brain lies the brainstem, the oldest and most automatic part of the nervous system, regulating breathing, heartbeat, and reflexes without thought. From the brain extends the spinal cord, a long column of nervous tissue that runs through the vertebral column. This cord is the central highway of communication, carrying signals between the brain and the rest of the body. From the spinal cord branch nerves, extending outward in every direction. These nerves form the peripheral nervous system, linking the central command of the brain to the limbs, organs, and tissues. Some nerves carry sensory information inward: the touch of the skin, the sound of a voice, the warmth of the sun. Others carry motor commands outward, instructing muscles to contract, glands to secrete, the body to act. Together, these pathways create a constant dialogue between body and brain, a conversation that never rests. The neuron, the basic unit of the nervous system, is a cell of remarkable design. Each neuron has a body, dendrites that receive signals, and a long axon that carries impulses away. At the end of the axon are synapses, tiny gaps across which signals pass to the next neuron. The signal itself is an electrical impulse traveling along the axon, but at the synapse, it becomes chemical, carried by molecules known as neurotransmitters. This dual nature, electrical within, chemical between, allows for both speed and complexity. With billions of neurons forming trillions of connections, the nervous system achieves a richness of communication unmatched by any other structure in the body. Neurons are supported by glial cells, which nourish, protect, and insulate them. These supporting cells ensure that signals remain clear and steady, that the pathways of communication are maintained. One type of glial cell produces myelin, a fatty sheath that wraps around axons, allowing impulses to travel more quickly. With myelin, a signal that might take seconds can travel in milliseconds, ensuring that thought and action flow seamlessly. The nervous system can be divided into two broad divisions: the somatic and the autonomic. The somatic system governs voluntary actions and conscious sensations. It allows you to move your arm, to feel the texture of fabric, to hear the notes of a melody. The autonomic system, by contrast, governs the involuntary functions: heartbeat, digestion, breathing. Within the autonomic system are two further branches: the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic readies the body for activity, while the parasympathetic calms it, promoting rest, digestion, and repair. These two branches work in balance, ensuring that the body responds to needs, but also returns to stillness. Sensory pathways bring the outside world inward. Light entering the eye is transformed into signals that the brain interprets as sight. Vibrations in the air enter the ear, becoming the sensation of sound. Pressure and temperature on the skin are translated into touch. In this way, the nervous system allows us not only to survive, but to experience, to feel, to know. Motor pathways carry intention outward. A thought in the brain becomes an electrical signal, traveling down the spinal cord, branching into nerves, reaching a muscle, and causing it to contract. What begins as an invisible impulse becomes a visible action: the movement of a hand, the turn of a head, the step of a foot. Every gesture, every motion, is the expression of signals traveling along these quiet pathways. The nervous system is also the seat of memory and learning. Neurons do not simply fire once and then forget. They strengthen their connections with use, forming patterns that remain. A memory is not a single place in the brain, but a network of neurons firing together, strengthened by repetition. Learning, too, is the forming of new connections, the quiet weaving of pathways that did not exist before. This adaptability, called plasticity, allows the nervous system to change with experience, to grow, to heal, and to learn anew. There is beauty in the speed and delicacy of this system. Signals travel along neurons at remarkable speeds, allowing the body to respond almost instantly to the world. Yet there is also beauty in its subtlety. The same pathways that move muscles and carry pain also allow the soft perception of a breeze, the memory of a voice, the thought of a dream. The nervous system holds both the power of action and the gentleness of sensation. What is most soothing to reflect upon is that much of this system works without effort on our part. Reflexes bypass conscious thought, protecting the body before we even know there is danger. The autonomic system regulates heartbeat, digestion, and temperature without our awareness. Even as we rest, neurons are firing, Signals are traveling, connections are being maintained. The nervous system is always active, always guiding, always weaving the fabric of life. As you imagine this network within yourself, you might see it as a vast web of light, threads of connection stretching in every direction. Some pathways are bright and swift, carrying urgent messages. Others are dim and slow, carrying the quiet background signals that sustain life. Together, they form a living tapestry, always changing, always alive. This is the story of the nervous pathways, the silent messengers that carry thought, sensation, and action. In the next part, we will turn to the digestive system, the gentle process by which the body transforms food into nourishment, sustaining the energy that the nervous system and all systems require. 10. The digestive journey. Every living being requires nourishment. And for humans, this nourishment comes from the foods we eat and the drinks we consume. Yet what begins as a simple act, a meal, a sip of water, a bite of fruit, sets into motion a long and gentle process within the body. This is the digestive journey, a quiet transformation in which food becomes fuel, and what is not needed is released. To reflect on digestion is to understand how the body receives energy and materials for growth, repair, and renewal, all while carrying out its tasks in silence, unseen but constant. The journey begins in the mouth, where food is first taken in. The teeth, with their varied shapes, break food into smaller pieces. Incisors cut, canines tear, and molars grind, creating a texture that is easier for the body to process. But chewing does more than break food apart mechanically. Saliva, released from glands in the mouth, begins the chemical process of digestion. It contains enzymes that start breaking down carbohydrates, transforming complex starches into simpler sugars. Saliva also moistens food, forming it into a soft mass called a bolus, which can be swallowed with ease. The act of swallowing carries the bolus into the pharynx, the shared passage for both food and air. Here, a small flap of tissue called the epiglottis closes over the trachea, ensuring that food moves into the esophagus and not into the airway. The esophagus is a muscular tube that guides food to the stomach. It does not rely on gravity alone. Instead, waves of muscle contractions, known as peristalsis, gently push the bolus downward, carrying it along whether the body is upright, lying down, or even inverted. Upon reaching the stomach, the bolus enters a chamber designed for further breakdown. The stomach is a muscular sac lined with specialized cells that secrete both acid and enzymes. The acid helps to unfold proteins, while enzymes begin to cut them into smaller chains. Muscular contractions churn the food, mixing it with these digestive juices until it becomes a semi-liquid mixture known as chyme. The stomach also serves as a temporary reservoir, releasing its contents gradually into the small intestine to allow for efficient absorption. The small intestine is the true center of digestion and absorption. It is a long, winding tube, stretching many meters in length, yet coiled neatly within the abdomen. The first part, the duodenum, receives chyme from the stomach along with secretions from the liver and pancreas. The liver produces bile, stored in the gallbladder, which helps to break down fats into smaller droplets, making them easier to digest. The pancreas produces a variety of enzymes that further break down proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Together, these secretions transform chyme into nutrients ready to be absorbed. The lining of the small intestine is a marvel of design. Its surface is not smooth but folded, with finger-like projections called villi and microscopic extensions called microvilli. These structures vastly increase the surface area, ensuring that nutrients have ample opportunity to pass into the blood. Through this lining, sugars, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals enter the bloodstream, where they are carried to cells throughout the body. In this way, the food that once sat on a plate becomes the energy that powers muscles, the building blocks that repair tissues, and the materials that sustain life. What remains after this process is passed into the large intestine, also known as the colon. Here, water and salts are reabsorbed, and the remaining material is compacted. The colon is also home to a vast community of bacteria, sometimes called the gut microbiome. These microorganisms play a role in breaking down fibers that human enzymes cannot digest, producing vitamins and other beneficial compounds in the process. Though invisible to the eye, they form a quiet partnership with the body, contributing to health and balance. At last, the waste that cannot be used is eliminated through the rectum and anus, completing the digestive journey. What began as food outside the body has been transformed, absorbed, and released, with every step carried out in silence and precision. Digestion is not only about the movement of food, but also about balance. The body regulates when enzymes are secreted, how quickly the stomach empties, and how much water is absorbed. Signals travel through nerves and hormones, coordinating each step. Hunger itself arises from these signals, reminding us when energy is needed. Satiety follows, signaling that the body has received enough. This balance ensures that nourishment is steady, neither too little nor too much. Sustaining the body with quiet regularity, it is calming to reflect on how much of this process happens without conscious effort, from chewing and swallowing to absorption and elimination. The digestive system carries out its work faithfully, whether or not we are aware of it. Even as we sleep, the body continues to digest, transforming meals into the very substance of life. The digestive journey is also a reminder of connection. The food we eat comes from the world around us. Plants that gather sunlight, animals that graze on grasses, grains that grow from the soil. When we consume them, their energy becomes our energy. Their materials become our tissues. In this way, digestion is not just a biological process, but also a continuation of life's cycle, linking us to the earth and its abundance. As you rest with these thoughts, you might imagine the digestive system as a long, winding river within, carrying food gently along, breaking it down, absorbing what is useful, and releasing what is not. It is a process of transformation, a quiet alchemy that turns meals into motion, sustenance into strength. This is the story of the digestive journey, the pathway from nourishment to renewal. In the next part, we will explore another subtle system of balance, the endocrine system, where glands and hormones act as messengers, guiding growth, energy, and calm through the body's inner currents. 11. Endocrine messengers. Within the body, there exists a quiet system of communication that is unlike the swift sparks of the nervous system. Instead of electrical impulses rushing along nerves, this system sends chemical messages that drift through the bloodstream, carried gently to distant places. These messages are called hormones, and the network of glands that produce them is the endocrine system. To reflect on this system is to understand how balance is maintained, how growth unfolds, how energy is directed, and how the body moves steadily through the cycles of life. The word endocrine itself means to secrete within. Unlike glands that release substances to the outside world, such as sweat glands of the skin or salivary glands of the mouth. Endocrine glands release their products directly into the blood. The bloodstream becomes a river of communication, carrying hormones quietly and efficiently to their targets. Each hormone is like a key, fitting only into the lock of a particular receptor on certain cells. In this way, hormones bring messages that are specific, purposeful, and gentle in their effect. At the center of this system lies the hypothalamus, a small but powerful region of the brain. It acts as a bridge between the nervous and endocrine systems, monitoring the body's internal state and sending signals to adjust it. Just beneath the hypothalamus rests the pituitary gland, often called the master gland. Though no larger than a pea, it releases hormones that influence many other glands throughout the body. It guides growth, reproduction, metabolism, and the balance of water and salt. With each release, the pituitary ensures harmony across distant regions of the body. The thyroid gland, shaped like a butterfly and resting at the base of the neck, plays a central role in metabolism. Its hormones regulate how quickly cells convert nutrients into energy, setting the pace of life itself. When thyroid activity increases, energy rises, and the body quickens. When it slows, energy diminishes, and the body moves gently into rest. The thyroid's partner, the parathyroid glands, tiny structures nestled nearby, help to balance calcium, ensuring that bones, muscles, and nerves function smoothly. The adrenal glands, perched like small caps upon the kidneys, are guardians of balance and readiness. They produce hormones that influence metabolism, salt and water balance, and the body's responses to stress. One region of the adrenal glands releases cortisol, which helps the body adapt to changes and maintain steady energy throughout the day. Another produces adrenaline, which prepares the body for action, increasing alertness and strength. Yet even these powerful effects are part of a balanced cycle, rising and falling as needed, never constant, never excessive in the healthy state. The pancreas, resting behind the stomach, is both a digestive and an endocrine organ. Its endocrine cells are arranged in clusters called the islets of Langerhans. From these clusters come hormones such as insulin and glucagon, which regulate blood sugar levels. Insulin helps cells absorb glucose from the blood, providing energy for immediate use or storage for later. Glucagon releases stored energy when levels fall, ensuring that the body never runs out of fuel. This quiet balance between storing and releasing sustains the body through both feasting and fasting. Reproductive glands, the ovaries in females, and the testes in males also form part of the endocrine system. They release hormones that guide development, fertility, and secondary characteristics such as body shape and voice. In females, the ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, which regulate the menstrual cycle and prepare the body for possible pregnancy. In males, the testes produce testosterone, supporting the development of muscle, bone, and reproductive capacity. Though often thought of in relation to reproduction, these hormones also influence mood, energy, and the quiet rhythms of daily life. The pineal gland, small and tucked deep within the brain, has long been regarded with quiet fascination. It secretes melatonin, a hormone that influences sleep-wake cycles. As light fades, melatonin levels rise, inviting drowsiness and preparing the body for rest. As morning comes and light returns, melatonin falls, waking the body gently. In this way, the pineal gland links us to the rhythms of day and night, aligning our internal state with the cycles of nature. The endocrine system works not in isolation but in harmony, with glands often influencing one another in a series of feedback loops. For example, the hypothalamus signals the pituitary to release a hormone, which in turn stimulates the thyroid. As thyroid hormones rise, they signal back to the brain, telling it to slow the release. This self-regulating loop ensures that levels remain steady, preventing both excess and deficiency. Such balance is the essence of the endocrine system, never static, always adjusting, always returning to equilibrium. Hormones act slowly compared to nerve impulses, but their effects are lasting and pervasive. While a nerve impulse can move a muscle in a fraction of a second, hormones may take minutes or hours to alter metabolism, growth, or mood. Yet it is this slowness that makes them steady. They guide the body not in sudden bursts, but in gentle, enduring currents. It is calming to reflect on the subtlety of this system. At any moment, dozens of hormones are flowing through the bloodstream, adjusting heart rate, regulating appetite, supporting repair, and preparing the body for rest or action. We do not feel these adjustments directly, yet without them, the harmony of the body would falter. The endocrine system is a quiet conductor, ensuring that every system plays in tune. As you imagine this process within yourself, you might think of the endocrine system as a series of lanterns, each releasing light into a flowing river. The light drifts downstream, illuminating only the places where it is needed, never wasted, never misplaced. Together, these lights create a steady glow that sustains balance and life. This is the story of the endocrine messengers, the chemical voices that move silently through the body, guiding its rhythms with gentleness and care. In the next part, we will turn to the immune system, another silent guardian, one that protects against harm and preserves the body's inner peace. 12. The immune protectors. Within the body, hidden from ordinary awareness, there is a system devoted entirely to preservation. It does not build bone or generate energy. Instead, it watches, waits, and responds to protect the body from harm. This is the immune system, a quiet yet vigilant guardian. It is not a single organ but a collection of cells, tissues, and pathways spread throughout the body, working together as a shield. To reflect on the immune system is to see the body's deep wisdom, its ability to recognize what belongs and what does not, to preserve balance, and to quietly defend the sanctuary of life. The immune system begins with the most visible line of defense, the skin. As the largest organ of the body, the skin forms a barrier against the outside world. Its layers are strong yet sensitive, keeping harmful substances out, while allowing touch and sensation in. Oils, secretions, and even beneficial bacteria on the surface provide an added layer of protection. This is the body's first wall, a boundary between inner and outer worlds. Beneath the surface lies the second line of defense, the innate immune system. This part is ancient and immediate, responding quickly to any threat. White blood cells, also known as leukocytes, patrol the bloodstream and tissues, always alert. When they detect something harmful, a virus, a bacterium, or damaged cells, they act swiftly. Some engulf and digest invaders, while others release signals to rally more defenders. This response is not specific. It does not require memory or recognition. Instead, it is broad and fast, buying time until a more precise response can be prepared. The adaptive immune system provides that precision. Unlike the innate response, It learns from experience. At the heart of this system are two types of lymphocytes, B cells and T cells. B cells produce antibodies, proteins that recognize specific invaders. Once an antibody attaches to its target, it marks it for destruction or blocks it from causing harm. T cells come in several forms. Helper T cells coordinate the immune response, while cytotoxic T cells seek out and destroy infected cells. Memory cells, both B and T, remain long after the battle has ended, remembering the invader and responding faster if it ever returns. This memory is the reason immunity can last a lifetime. The organs of the immune system form a quiet network. The bone marrow produces the white blood cells that act as defenders. The thymus, a small organ behind the breastbone, is where T cells mature, learning to distinguish self from non-self. The lymph nodes, scattered throughout the body, are stations where immune cells gather, filter fluids, and mount responses. The spleen, tucked beneath the ribs, filters blood, removes old cells, and helps coordinate immune activity. Together, these organs form a distributed but connected system, always ready, always alert. The lymphatic system, a network of vessels parallel to the blood vessels, carries lymph, a clear fluid rich in immune cells. As lymph moves through the body, it passes through lymph nodes, where immune cells wait in quiet readiness. This system ensures that immune surveillance reaches every tissue, even the most distant. It is a gentle, circulating watch, flowing alongside the circulatory system, complementing it in both form and function. What is remarkable about the immune system is its balance. It must be strong enough to fight infection, but gentle enough not to harm the body itself. Most of the time, it achieves this balance perfectly. It recognizes the difference between what is part of the self and what is foreign, acting only when needed. This constant discernment happens without thought, without sensation, yet it sustains health in every moment. Beyond protection from harm, the immune system also participates in healing. When tissues are damaged, immune cells arrive to clear debris and signal for repair. Inflammation, often thought of as a sign of discomfort, is in fact part of this process. Blood flow increases, bringing nutrients and immune cells to the site of injury. Once the threat is removed and repair is complete, signals shift again, calming the response and allowing tissues to return to rest. Even in healing, the immune system shows its ability to adapt, to rise when needed, and retreat when the danger is past. The immune system also connects deeply with other systems. It relies on the circulatory system to carry its cells and signals, on the endocrine system for hormonal guidance, and on the nervous system for coordination. Stress, rest, nutrition, and environment all influence immune activity. In this way, immunity is not isolated, but woven into the fabric of the body's whole. It listens to the state of the body and responds accordingly, a participant in balance as much as a guardian against harm. It is soothing to reflect on how faithfully this system serves. Without awareness, it protects from countless invisible threats each day. Every breath of air, every touch of surface, every bite of food carries with it the possibility of microbes. Yet the immune system handles these challenges silently, allowing life to continue without interruption. Most of the time, we never notice its work at all, and perhaps that is its greatest gift, a constant defense that asks for nothing in return. To imagine the immune system is to picture a quiet patrol, a gentle but vigilant watch. White blood cells drift like sentinels through the blood, Lymph nodes act like listening posts, and antibodies move like keys seeking their locks. Together, they maintain a peace we seldom think about, ensuring that the inner world remains safe. This is the story of the immune protectors, the unseen guardians of health, always present, always active, always guiding the body back to balance. In the next part, we will turn to another system of quiet balance, the urinary system, where the kidneys filter and purify, ensuring that the body's inner waters remain clear and steady. 13. The urinary balance. Among the body's many systems of quiet regulation, the urinary system holds a special role. It is not concerned with movement, like muscles, nor with defense, like immunity. Instead, it works as the body's purifier, filtering the blood, balancing its chemistry, and ensuring that excess or harmful substances are released. This is the system that maintains the clarity of the body's inner waters, a steady rhythm of filtration and release that preserves harmony. To reflect on the urinary system is to see the calm persistence of balance, maintained without our awareness, moment by moment, throughout life. The urinary system is built around four main structures: the kidneys, ureters, bladder, and urethra. The kidneys are the true center, two bean-shaped organs resting against the back wall of the abdomen, just below the rib cage. Though each kidney is no larger than a fist, its work is immense. Every day, kidneys filter hundreds of liters of blood, removing wastes, balancing electrolytes, and adjusting fluid levels. What results is urine, a solution that carries away what the body no longer needs. The structure of the kidney is intricate and elegant. Each kidney contains about 1,000,000 microscopic units called nephrons, the true filters of the system. A nephron begins with a tiny cluster of blood vessels known as the glomerulus, where blood pressure pushes fluid and small molecules out of the bloodstream. Larger components, proteins, cells, and most nutrients remain, while water, salts, and wastes enter the nephron. From here, the fluid passes through a winding series of tubules where careful adjustments take place. Some water is reabsorbed, some salts are reclaimed, and some wastes are secreted. By the end of this journey, what remains is urine, balanced precisely in volume and composition. The kidneys do far more than filter waste. They also regulate blood pressure by controlling the amount of water retained or released. They adjust the balance of electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, and calcium, which are essential for nerve signals and muscle contractions. They even influence the production of red blood cells, releasing a hormone called erythropoietin that signals the bone marrow when more cells are needed. In these ways, the kidneys serve not only as filters but also as regulators and communicators, quietly guiding balance throughout the body. From the kidneys, urine flows into narrow tubes called ureters, which carry it to the bladder. These tubes are lined with smooth muscle that contracts rhythmically, pushing urine forward drop by drop. This movement, called peristalsis, ensures that urine moves steadily, even when the body is lying down. At the end of each ureter, a small valve prevents backflow, protecting the kidneys from any return of fluid. The bladder is the reservoir of the system, a hollow muscular sac that can expand and contract. Its walls are lined with folds that stretch as it fills, holding the urine until it is ready to be released. When the time comes, signals from the nervous system coordinate the contraction of bladder muscles and the relaxation of the sphincter at its outlet. The urethra then carries urine out of the body, completing the cycle of filtration and release. This process, though simple in experience, is carefully regulated by both voluntary control and automatic reflexes, balancing convenience with necessity. The urinary system is closely linked to the body's overall water balance. Water makes up the majority of our body weight, filling cells, tissues, and blood. Yet water must be kept within narrow limits. Too much, and the body swells; too little, and cells shrink. The kidneys sense these shifts constantly, adjusting urine volume to keep balance. On a hot day, when sweat drains water from the body, urine becomes concentrated, conserving what is needed. On a cool day, when fluids are plentiful, urine becomes more dilute, releasing the excess. In this way, the kidneys act as guardians of hydration, ensuring stability through changing conditions. Another layer of balance lies in pH, the measure of acidity within the blood. The body's enzymes and cells require a steady, slightly alkaline environment. The kidneys help maintain this by excreting hydrogen ions and reabsorbing bicarbonate when needed. This regulation prevents dangerous swings, keeping the blood's chemistry stable. Though we seldom think of acidity or alkalinity, the kidneys are always at work, fine-tuning the chemistry of life. The urinary system is also deeply connected to other systems. Its control of electrolytes supports the nervous and muscular systems. Its influence on blood pressure links it to the circulatory system. Its guidance of red blood cell production ties it to the respiratory system, ensuring enough oxygen is carried in the blood. In this way, the kidneys and their pathways do more than cleanse. They help orchestrate balance across the entire body. It is calming to reflect on how tirelessly this system works. With every heartbeat, blood flows through the kidneys, and with every minute, filtration occurs. We notice only the final act, the release of urine. Yet behind this simple event lies constant, detailed work. The separation of useful from waste, the reclaiming of what must be kept, the release of what must be let go. This cycle repeats endlessly, ensuring clarity and stability within. To imagine the urinary system is to picture clear streams running through a landscape, filtering impurities, leaving the water pure and balanced. The kidneys are like springs at the source, endlessly refreshing the flow. The bladder is a quiet pool, holding the water until it is released, and the ureters and urethra are channels, guiding the current on its way. This image of flowing, cleansing water captures the essence of the system: steady, quiet, renewing. This is the story of the urinary balance, the gentle purification that preserves harmony within the body. In the next part, we will turn to the reproductive system, exploring how the body carries the possibility of new life, weaving continuity into the story of human existence. 14. The reproductive design. Among all the body's systems, the reproductive system is unique. While the heart sustains life, and the lungs carry breath, and the kidneys maintain balance, the reproductive system holds a different purpose: the continuation of life beyond the self. It is the system through which human beings carry forward their kind, weaving individuals into the great chain of generations. To reflect on reproduction is to rest with the knowledge that within each body lies the quiet potential for renewal, a design that links us not only to our parents and ancestors but also to future lives yet unseen. The reproductive system differs between males and females, yet both share the same underlying role: to produce cells that carry genetic material, and to bring them together in the possibility of new life. These special cells, called gametes, hold half the blueprint of a human being. When joined, they form a complete design, carrying forward traits, variations, and the subtle signatures of ancestry. In males, the central organs of reproduction are the testes. These paired structures, held within the scrotum, are responsible for producing sperm, the male gametes. Within each testis are tightly coiled tubules, where sperm cells are generated in vast numbers. This process, called spermatogenesis, begins at puberty and continues throughout life, with millions of sperm produced each day. Each sperm is small but specialized, with a head that carries genetic material, a midsection that provides energy, and a tail that propels it forward. The testes also produce testosterone, the primary male hormone. Testosterone guides the development of secondary sexual characteristics, the deepening of the voice, the growth of muscle, the presence of facial and body hair. It also supports libido, energy, and the maintenance of reproductive tissues. Thus, the testes serve a dual role: the creation of gametes and the guidance of hormonal balance. From the testes, sperm travel through a network of ducts. They first pass into the epididymis, a coiled tube where they mature and gain mobility. From here, they move into the vas deferens, a muscular duct that carries them forward. Along the way, accessory glands, the seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and bulbourethral glands add fluids that nourish sperm, provide alkalinity, and create the medium known as semen. This fluid protects and sustains sperm, preparing them for their journey outward. At last, semen is expelled through the urethra during ejaculation, completing the male contribution to reproduction. In females, the central organs are the ovaries. These paired structures, resting on either side of the uterus, hold within them the ova, or eggs. Unlike sperm, which are produced continuously, eggs are present from birth, their number set in advance. Each month, under the guidance of hormones, one ovary matures a single egg, releasing it in a process called ovulation. The egg is large compared to sperm, carrying not only genetic material but also nutrients to sustain the early stages of development. The female reproductive system is guided by cycles, harmonized by hormones. Estrogen and progesterone, the primary female hormones, regulate the menstrual cycle, prepare the uterus for possible pregnancy, and influence secondary characteristics such as body shape and hair distribution. These hormones also play roles beyond reproduction, affecting bone health, mood, and energy. Once released, the egg is drawn into the fallopian tube, a delicate passage lined with cilia that gently guide it toward the uterus. Fertilization, the meeting of sperm and egg, usually occurs here. If a sperm succeeds in entering the egg, their genetic materials combine, forming a zygote, the first cell of a new human being. This zygote begins to divide, becoming an embryo as it travels toward the uterus. The uterus is the nurturing center of the female system. Its walls are muscular yet richly supplied with blood vessels, designed to support growth. If fertilization has occurred, the embryo implants into the uterine lining, drawing nourishment and beginning development. Over weeks and months, the uterus expands, carrying and protecting new life. If fertilization does not occur, the lining is shed in menstruation, and the cycle begins again. The reproductive system also includes the structures that support birth and nurturing. The cervix forms the lower gateway of the uterus, opening into the vagina, which serves as the passage for intercourse, childbirth, and menstrual flow. Beyond these, the breasts, though not directly reproductive, play a vital role in nourishing infants after birth, producing milk under hormonal guidance. Reproduction is not only physical but also deeply symbolic. It represents continuity, the way life passes from one generation to the next. Each gamete is a vessel of ancestry, carrying fragments of those who came before, blending them into something new. The reproductive system makes this continuity possible, yet it does so quietly, without demand, in cycles and rhythms that unfold naturally. It is soothing to reflect on how the reproductive system lies mostly at rest, waiting. For much of life, its activity is subtle, guided by cycles and hormones. Yet when called upon, it carries out the profound work of creating possibility. In this way, it is both patient and powerful, embodying the balance of stillness and potential. To imagine this system is to see it as a garden within, where seeds are prepared, cycles turn with the seasons, and when conditions are right, new life may take root. Whether or not that possibility is realized, the system remains a part of the body's quiet design, a reminder of connection across time. This is the story of the reproductive design, the system that carries the possibility of life beyond the self. In the next part, we will turn to the skeletal muscles once more, exploring movement in greater detail, how muscles and bones together create posture, motion, and the graceful mechanics of the human frame. 15. Posture and motion. The human body, though built of delicate tissues and fragile cells, has the remarkable ability to move with grace, strength, and precision. This gift of motion arises from the partnership of bones and muscles, a collaboration that allows us to stand upright, walk, reach, and shape the world around us. Yet movement is not only about action, it is also about stillness, for even in rest, muscles hold the body steady, maintaining posture against the pull of gravity. To reflect on posture and motion is to see the body's harmony in action, a balance between structure and flexibility, strength and gentleness. At the heart of this system are the skeletal muscles, numbering in the hundreds, each one anchored to bones by tendons. These muscles contract and relax in response to signals from the nervous system, pulling on bones like ropes on levers. Bones themselves serve as the framework and the levers, while joints act as the pivot points that allow movement. Together, these elements form a living machine, flexible, resilient, and endlessly adaptable. Posture is the quiet side of this system. Even when we are not moving, muscles are subtly active, holding the body upright, aligning the head, supporting the spine, and keeping balance. Without this constant, low-level activity, standing or sitting would not be possible. The spine itself, with its natural curves, provides both strength and flexibility. Muscles of the back and abdomen work in harmony to stabilize this central column, preventing collapse. The muscles of the neck hold the head aloft, while those of the legs and hips support the body's weight. In this way, posture is not a fixed position, but a gentle, dynamic balance, constantly adjusted by the smallest of contractions. When the body moves, this balance shifts into action. Each motion, from the smallest gesture of a finger to the stride of a step, involves the coordinated work of many muscles at once. A single action may require one muscle to contract, its partner to relax, and others nearby to stabilize. This coordination creates fluidity, allowing movements to be smooth rather than rigid. For example, when lifting an arm, the biceps contract to bend the elbow, while the triceps relax, At the same time, muscles of the shoulder and torso stabilize the joint, preventing unwanted motion. Such harmony is repeated in every action, a quiet choreography of tissues. Walking, one of the most familiar motions, is also one of the most complex. It is a sequence of balance and shift, where muscles of the legs, hips, and core work together to move the body forward. With each step, the heel strikes, weight rolls along the foot, and muscles of the calf push the body onward. Meanwhile, the opposite leg swings forward, preparing for the next step. Though it feels effortless, walking is a continuous coordination of posture and motion, guided by both conscious intent and unconscious reflexes. The design of muscles reflects their varied roles. Some are long and slender, built for movement and range. Others are short and thick, built for power. Some are deep, providing stability, while others lie on the surface, shaping the contours of the body. Each muscle is made of countless fibers, which themselves contain tiny units called sarcomeres. Within these units, filaments of actin and myosin slide past one another, shortening the fiber and producing contraction. This sliding filament mechanism, repeated millions of times across fibers, produces the visible motion of a hand, a step, a gesture. Energy for contraction comes from ATP, the body's universal fuel. Muscles draw ATP from stored sources, from glucose in the blood, and from oxygen delivered by the circulatory system. During sustained effort, the respiratory system supplies oxygen to support aerobic metabolism, while during brief exertion, muscles may rely on anaerobic pathways. In this way, motion is supported by the cooperation of many systems: nervous, circulatory, respiratory, and endocrine. Posture and motion also reveal the adaptability of the body. Muscles respond to use by becoming stronger, larger, and more efficient. They respond to disuse by gradually weakening, conserving energy when not needed. Joints, too, adapt, remaining supple through motion and stiffening with immobility. Even bones respond to the pull of muscles, strengthening with use, softening without. This adaptability ensures that the body remains efficient, adjusting to the demands placed upon it. It is calming to reflect on how natural motion is, how seamlessly the body moves from rest to action and back again. Even simple gestures, like turning the head to gaze at a sound, involve the coordination of muscles, nerves, and bones in perfect timing. These actions, repeated countless times each day, unfold without effort or awareness. They are part of the quiet intelligence of the body, guiding motion with grace. To imagine this system is to see the body as a tree in the wind. The spine is the trunk, firm yet flexible, while the limbs are branches, moving freely yet always anchored. Muscles are like the fibers of the wood, giving strength and resilience, while joints are like the hinges that allow sway and bend. In stillness, the tree stands tall. In motion, it flows with grace. This is the story of posture and motion, the harmony of muscles, bones, and nerves that allows the body to stand, move, and act in the world. In the next part, we will turn to the senses, the gateways of perception, exploring how the body gathers information from the world: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, weaving them into the tapestry of experience. 16. The five senses. The human body is not only a vessel of movement, circulation, and balance. It is also a vessel of perception. Through the senses, we reach outward, touching the world, and through them, the world reaches inward, shaping our experience. Sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. These are the five classical senses, long recognized as the gateways by which we know the outer world. Yet beyond them lie other subtle senses, such as balance, position, and the awareness of our body in space. To reflect on the senses is to rest with the understanding that life is not only sustained within, but also enriched by what flows in through these delicate windows. Sight, the most dominant of the senses, begins with light. Rays of light enter the eye through the cornea, pass through the pupil, and are focused by the lens onto the retina at the back of the eye. The retina is lined with photoreceptor cells, rods, and cones that transform light into electrical signals. Rods detect shades of gray and work well in dim conditions, while cones detect color and detail in brighter light. These signals pass into the optic nerve, where they travel to the brain, merging into the rich tapestry of vision. What we see is not simply light striking the eye, but light transformed into patterns, colors, and images by the brain. Sight allows us to navigate, to recognize, to imagine, and to dream. Hearing begins with vibration. Sound waves in the air enter the ear canal and strike the eardrum, setting it into motion. These vibrations are carried inward by the tiny bones of the middle ear. The malleus, incus, and stapes, the smallest bones in the body, yet essential to hearing. They amplify the sound and transmit it to the cochlea, a spiral-shaped structure in the inner ear filled with fluid and delicate hair cells. As the fluid ripples, the hair cells bend, generating signals that travel along the auditory nerve to the brain. From the faintest whisper to the richest symphony, hearing is the perception of vibration, transformed into meaning by the nervous system. Touch is perhaps the most ancient sense, spread throughout the entire body. The skin, our largest organ, holds countless receptors that detect pressure, texture, vibration, and temperature. Some receptors respond to the lightest brush, while others sense firm pressure or deep vibration. Thermoreceptors detect warmth and coolness, while nociceptors signal pain, alerting the body to potential harm. Through touch, we know the softness of fabric, the warmth of sunlight, the roughness of stone. More than physical, touch is also deeply emotional, conveying comfort, connection. Taste is the sense of flavor, and it begins with the tongue. Tiny structures called taste buds contain receptor cells that detect 5 primary sensations: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami, the savory taste of protein-rich foods. These tastes guide us toward nourishment, helping us distinguish what is rich in energy or what may be harmful. Combined with smell, taste creates the rich experience of flavor, turning eating into more than sustenance, into pleasure and memory. Smell, or olfaction, is closely tied to both memory and emotion. Molecules drifting in the air enter the nasal cavity and bind to receptors in the olfactory epithelium. These receptors send signals directly to the brain's olfactory bulb, which lies near the centers of memory and emotion. This closeness explains why a scent can so vividly recall a moment from long ago: the smell of rain on soil, the fragrance of a flower, the warmth of bread baking. Smell connects us to the world in subtle, intimate ways, often unnoticed but deeply felt. Beyond the 5 classical senses, The body also possesses others, less obvious but equally important. The sense of balance, or equilibrium, is guided by the vestibular system in the inner ear. Tiny fluid-filled canals detect motion and orientation, allowing us to stand, walk, and turn without falling. Proprioception, the awareness of body position, comes from receptors in muscles, tendons, and joints. It allows us to move without always watching ourselves, to reach for an object in the dark, or to walk without looking at our feet. Interoception, the awareness of inner states, lets us feel hunger, thirst, fullness, or the steady rhythm of the heart. These senses remind us that perception is not only of the outer world but also of the inner landscape. The senses do not act alone. They weave together, creating an experience richer than any single input. Sight and balance join to guide motion. Smell and taste combine to shape flavor. Touch and hearing blend in the perception of vibration. The brain integrates all these streams, producing a seamless awareness of the world. This integration is effortless, a constant harmony of signals that requires no thought. It is soothing to reflect on the gift of the senses, how they connect us gently to the world around us. Each sense is a pathway, opening a door between inner and outer. Without them, the body would remain closed, alive but isolated. With them, life becomes not only sustained but experienced, colored, textured. To imagine the senses is to see them as windows, clear and open, each framing a different view. One reveals light and color, another sound and tone, another touch and warmth, another flavor and nourishment, another fragrance and memory. Through these windows flows the richness of existence, carried inward and transformed into the quiet awareness of being. This is the story of the five senses and their companions, the subtle pathways of balance and inner perception. In the next part, we will turn to the theme of renewal, exploring the body's ability to repair itself, to grow, and to adapt across the changing seasons of life. 17. Interconnected systems. Within the human body, each system has its own story to tell. The heart with its steady rhythm, the lungs with their breath of life, the stomach with its quiet transformation of nourishment, and the nerves with their swift currents of information. Yet none of these systems exist in isolation. They are woven together in a seamless fabric, each one dependent on the others, each one contributing to the whole. To reflect on the interconnectedness of the body is to rest with the understanding that life is sustained not by separate parts but by their unity, an orchestral harmony of function. The circulatory system, for example, does not act alone. Its flowing blood carries oxygen, but that oxygen comes from the lungs, where the respiratory system gathers it from the air. The blood also carries nutrients, but those nutrients come from the digestive system, which gently breaks food down into usable forms. At the same time, the kidneys of the urinary system filter the blood, removing excess and waste, while the liver transforms and balances its chemistry. The immune system drifts within the blood as well, its white cells using the circulatory currents to reach distant tissues. Thus, the blood is not only a carrier but also a meeting place for the gifts of many systems. The nervous system, often thought of as the command center, is deeply intertwined with all others. It sends signals that make muscles contract, allowing the skeletal system to move. It guides the heart to beat faster or slower, the lungs to breathe more deeply or more gently, and the digestive tract to shift its pace of absorption. Yet the nervous system itself depends on others. It requires oxygen from the lungs, glucose from digestion, and electrolytes maintained by the kidneys. Without these supplies, its signals could not fire, its thoughts could not flow. The brain may seem like a leader, but in truth, it is also a dependent partner, sustained by the labor of all the body's organs. The endocrine system, too, weaves threads between systems. Its hormones drift through the bloodstream, touching distant tissues. The thyroid influences metabolism in nearly every cell. The pancreas balances blood sugar to fuel the muscles and brain, and the adrenal glands adjust energy and stress responses that affect the heart, lungs, and more. Reproductive hormones, though centered in one system, influence bones, skin, mood, and even the brain. Hormones are like quiet messengers traveling the body, ensuring that distant systems do not act alone but in coordinated rhythm. Even the skeletal system, often thought of as mere structure, contributes more than support. Bones produce blood cells within their marrow, sustaining the circulatory and immune systems. They store minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, releasing them into the blood as needed to maintain balance for muscles and nerves. Muscles depend on bones as anchors, but bones also depend on muscles, for the pull of muscle contraction stimulates them to remain strong. In this way, movement not only uses the skeleton but also nourishes it. The skin, our outermost layer, is also part of this interconnected whole. It protects against injury and infection, but it also works with the circulatory system to regulate temperature, with sweat glands releasing heat and blood vessels widening or narrowing to adjust flow. It collaborates with the nervous system to provide touch and sensation, and with the immune system to act as a first barrier. Even this surface, often overlooked, is a participant in the symphony of systems. Balance within the body depends on these interconnections. Consider homeostasis, the steady state that sustains life. Blood sugar rises after a meal. The pancreas releases insulin, guiding cells to absorb glucose. Muscles use the glucose for energy, while the liver stores what is extra. If blood sugar falls, another hormone, glucagon, signals the liver to release reserves. Here, the digestive, endocrine, muscular, and circulatory systems all work together to maintain balance. Another example lies in fluid regulation. The kidneys adjust water content, but they rely on signals from the brain and hormones from the adrenal glands. Meanwhile, the heart and blood vessels sense changes in pressure, sending information back. Every adjustment is shared, every response a group effort. It is soothing to reflect on how seamless this integration feels in daily life. We walk without thinking of the bones, muscles, nerves, and balance systems that cooperate. We eat without dwelling on the stomach, intestines, liver, and pancreas that transform food. We breathe without considering the dialogue between lungs, heart, and brain. The interconnected systems work silently together, so smooth that their unity is only noticed when it falters. In health, they create a background of harmony that allows the mind to rest, dream. To imagine this integration, one might see the body as an orchestra. Each system is like a section: strings, winds, brass, percussion. Each has its own sound, its own rhythm. Alone, the parts are incomplete, but together, they create music. The circulatory system keeps the tempo steady, like a heartbeat drum. The lungs provide breath, like winds filling the melody. The nervous system acts as a conductor, guiding timing and harmony, while the endocrine system provides the subtle variations of tone. The result is not noise but symphony, not chaos but balance. The interconnection of systems also reflects the broader interconnection of life. Just as the body relies on each of its parts, so too does each person rely on air from the atmosphere, food from the earth, water from rivers and rains. The systems within us are not isolated from the world, but in dialogue with it. Breath connects us to trees, food connects us to soil, water connects us to oceans. The body's inner unity is mirrored by the unity of life itself, a reminder that wholeness is found both within and beyond the self. This is the story of interconnected systems, the harmony of organs and tissues working as one, sustaining life through balance and cooperation. In the next part, we will turn more closely to the principle of homeostasis, exploring how the body maintains its delicate equilibrium, a quiet dance of temperature, fluids, and chemistry, adjusting moment by moment to preserve life's calm. 18. Homeostasis and balance. At every moment of life, the body rests within a delicate balance. Temperatures rise and fall. Water shifts in and out of cells. Nutrients are absorbed and consumed. Yet through it all, the inner environment remains remarkably steady. This steadiness, this quiet constancy, is called homeostasis. It is the body's ability to adjust, to correct, and to regulate, keeping conditions within narrow limits so that life may continue with ease. To reflect on homeostasis is to see the body not as a rigid machine but as a living harmony, always adapting, always returning gently to equilibrium. The word itself means same state. Yet homeostasis is not stillness, not an unchanging condition. Rather, it is balance through change, a continual adjustment to shifting needs. Consider body temperature. Though the outside world may be hot or cold, the body's inner temperature is kept near 37 degrees Celsius, or about 98 degrees Fahrenheit. If heat rises, sweat glands release moisture, and blood vessels in the skin widen, allowing heat to escape. If cold intrudes, muscles shiver to generate warmth, and blood vessels narrow to conserve heat. These quiet adjustments prevent extremes, holding the body in a comfortable range. Water balance offers another example. The body is composed mostly of water, filling blood, tissues, and cells. Yet this water must remain in balance, neither too much nor too little. The kidneys play a central role here, guided by hormones that sense hydration. When fluids run low, the hormone vasopressin increases, signaling the kidneys to conserve water, producing concentrated urine. When fluids are abundant, vasopressin decreases, allowing water to be released, and urine becomes dilute. Through this gentle rhythm, the body avoids both dehydration and excess. The balance of nutrients and energy also depends on homeostasis. After eating, blood sugar rises, and the pancreas releases insulin. This hormone guides glucose into cells, where it is used for energy or stored for later. When blood sugar falls, another hormone, glucagon, signals the liver to release stored glucose, keeping the brain and muscles supplied. These opposing forces storing and releasing create a steady stream of fuel, regardless of when meals are taken. Electrolytes. The charged minerals, such as sodium, potassium, and calcium, also require careful regulation. Sodium levels affect blood pressure and fluid balance. Potassium influences nerve signals and muscle contractions, including the steady rhythm of the heart. Calcium supports bones but also plays roles in clotting and nerve activity. The kidneys, endocrine glands, and digestive system together ensure that these minerals remain in balance, adjusting intake, storage, and release. The principle of feedback lies at the heart of homeostasis. Most often, this takes the form of negative feedback, in which a change triggers a response that counteracts it. If body temperature rises, mechanisms work to lower it. If blood sugar falls, mechanisms work to raise it. In this way, the body avoids extremes, always returning toward its set point. Positive feedback is rarer but also important. In childbirth, for example, contractions trigger signals that increase further contractions, creating a cycle that continues until birth is complete. These feedback loops show the body's responsiveness, its ability to listen and to respond. Homeostasis is not the work of one system, but of all working together. The nervous system detects changes quickly, sending signals that adjust breathing, heart rate, or muscle tone. The endocrine system responds more slowly, but with lasting influence, releasing hormones that guide metabolism and water balance. The circulatory system carries signals and nutrients to every corner, while the urinary and digestive systems regulate what is taken in and what is released. Each system contributes, and together they sustain the calm constancy within. It is soothing to reflect on how effortless this process feels. We may walk through heat, yet our temperature steadies. We may skip a meal, yet energy flows. We may drink deeply or go without water, yet our inner balance remains. These adjustments occur without thought, without effort, a background of stability that allows life to continue without interruption. To imagine homeostasis is to picture a set of scales, always tilting, always corrected. On one side lies warmth, on the other coolness. On one side fullness, on the other emptiness. On one side abundance, on the other scarcity. Each time the scales tip, the body adds or removes weight, restoring the balance. Or perhaps one might picture a gentle dance, where each step forward is followed by a step back, the movement never ending, yet always circling around a center. This constancy is not only physical but also symbolic. It reminds us that balance is not found in stillness but in flexibility, not in perfection but in adjustment. The body thrives not because it avoids change, but because it responds to it gracefully. Just as rivers bend around stones, just as trees sway with the wind, so too does the body adapt, maintaining harmony through gentle change. This is the story of homeostasis and balance, the quiet regulation that sustains life moment by moment, keeping the inner world steady despite the shifting outer world. In the next part, we will turn to the theme of growth and repair, exploring how the body not only maintains itself, but also adapts, heals, and renews across the unfolding journey of life. 19. Growth and repair. From the first breath of life to the final years of age, the human body is never truly still. It is always building, renewing, and adapting. Cells divide, tissues repair, and structures strengthen in response to need. This is the story of growth and repair, the body's quiet ability to create and restore itself. To reflect on this process is to see life not as a fixed state, but as a continual unfolding, where every moment carries change, and every part of the body has the capacity to heal or to grow. Growth begins at the most basic level, the cell. Each human body begins as a single cell, a zygote, formed from the union of egg and sperm. That one cell divides into two, then four, then many, eventually forming the trillions of cells that compose a person. Growth is thus woven into the very essence of life, an expansion guided by the blueprint of DNA and sustained by the nourishment drawn from the world. Even after birth, cells continue to multiply, enlarging the body, lengthening bones, and adding strength to muscles. The endocrine system guides much of this growth. Growth hormone, released from the pituitary gland, stimulates cells to divide and tissues to expand. Thyroid hormones regulate metabolism, ensuring that energy flows steadily into the building process. In childhood and adolescence, these hormones act strongly, shaping the body into maturity. Bones lengthen at their growth plates, muscles thicken, and organs enlarge, preparing the body for adult life. Though the pace slows with age, growth never fully ceases, for cells continue to renew and replace themselves throughout life. Repair is the twin of growth, and it is equally remarkable. Whenever tissue is damaged, whether by injury, strain, or ordinary, where the body sets in motion a process of healing. First comes inflammation, where blood flow increases and immune cells arrive to clear debris and defend against infection. Next comes the rebuilding stage, where cells divide and lay down new material. Finally, tissues remodel, strengthening and adjusting until function is restored. This cycle may take days or weeks, depending on the depth of damage, but it always begins the moment repair is needed. Different tissues repair in different ways. The skin, constantly exposed to the outer world, renews itself quickly. Surface cells are shed and replaced every few weeks. All cuts and scrapes heal with remarkable speed. The liver, too, shows great capacity for regeneration, able to regrow even after significant loss. Muscles can repair fibers that are torn or strained, becoming stronger in the process. When fractured, they repair by forming a soft callus of new tissue, which gradually hardens into solid bone, often becoming stronger at the site of healing. Some tissues, however, repair more slowly. The heart and nervous system, though vital, have limited ability to regenerate. Nerve cells, once lost, are difficult to replace. Instead, the nervous system relies on adaptation, rewiring pathways to compensate for damage. The heart, though powerful, heals through scar tissue rather than true regeneration. These limits remind us that the body, though resilient, is also finite, carrying both strength and fragility within its design. Growth and repair are not only responses to injury, but also to experience. Muscles grow stronger when used, responding to the pull of exercise. Bones grow denser under weight, reinforcing themselves to bear loads. Even the brain adapts, forming new connections when learning or practicing. This adaptability, called plasticity, shows that repair is not always about fixing what is broken, but also about adjusting to new challenges, shaping the body to meet the demands placed upon it. At the microscopic level, growth and repair are guided by proteins, enzymes, and signals. Cells communicate with one another, releasing chemical messengers that direct when to divide, when to build, and when to stop. This communication prevents uncontrolled growth while ensuring that healing is complete. The immune system also plays a role, not only defending against infection but also signaling for repair. The circulatory system brings nutrients and oxygen to fuel the process, while the endocrine system guides timing and intensity. Growth and repair, like all processes, are the work of many systems acting in harmony. It is soothing to reflect on how much of this renewal occurs silently. Skin renews itself without notice. Bones quietly rebuild. Muscles adapt as they are used. Even when we sleep, growth and repair continue, as cells divide and tissues restore themselves in the calm of rest. Life is thus a constant cycle of renewal, woven into every breath and heartbeat. To imagine growth and repair is to picture a garden. Cells are like seeds, sprouting and multiplying. When damage occurs, gardeners arrive to clear the broken branches, plant new shoots, and tend the soil. Over time, the garden restores itself, often stronger than before. This quiet tending of the body's tissues mirrors the cycles of nature growth and youth. Repair after storm, renewal after rest. This is the story of growth and repair, the body's enduring capacity to build and to restore. In the next part, we will turn to the arc of life itself, considering aging and the passage of time, and how the body changes gently through the seasons of existence. 20. Aging and renewal. Life is a journey marked not only by growth and strength, but also by change and gentle decline. From the earliest moments of childhood, through the vigor of youth, into maturity, and onward into elder years, the body carries us through shifting seasons. This passage is not a sudden shift, but a gradual unfolding, where each stage has its own rhythms, challenges, and beauty. To reflect on aging is to recognize that it is not merely a process of loss, but also one of renewal, adaptation, and wisdom, a continuation of the balance that has guided the body from its first breath. Aging begins quietly, almost invisibly, as cells lose some of their youthful efficiency. With time, the ability of cells to divide slows, and structures within them, such as mitochondria and DNA, begin to show the marks of use. Proteins fold less perfectly, and small fragments of damage accumulate. These changes are gradual, unfolding over decades, but together they shape the body's progression through life. In the musculoskeletal system, aging brings gentle shifts. Bones, once dense and growing, begin to lose minerals, becoming lighter and sometimes more fragile. Muscles, too, lose some of their mass and strength, especially when not used regularly. Joints may stiffen as cartilage thins and flexibility diminishes. Yet movement remains possible, and activity itself helps preserve both strength and resilience. The body adapts, finding new ways to maintain balance, posture, and motion, even with subtle limitations. The circulatory and respiratory systems also change. Blood vessels gradually stiffen, and the heart, though still strong, may pump with slightly less efficiency. Lungs lose some elasticity, making breathing shallower with age. Yet, with gentle exercise and steady rhythms, these systems continue to sustain life effectively, proving that adaptability remains even in later years. The senses shift as well. Vision may blur, hearing soften, and taste and smell become less vivid. Touch may lose sensitivity in the fingertips. These changes can alter how the world is experienced, but they also encourage reliance on other senses, reminding us of the body's capacity to adjust and compensate. The nervous system, too, reflects time. Nerve conduction slows slightly, and memory may not be as sharp as before. Yet the brain retains a remarkable ability to adapt. New connections can form, and learning remains possible throughout life. Experience and practice create patterns of wisdom that younger minds have not yet woven. Aging does not erase the mind's capacity but reshapes it, emphasizing depth over speed, reflection over immediacy. Repair also becomes slower with age. Skin may take longer to heal, bones may mend less quickly, and the immune system may respond more gently. Yet repair continues, and the body still tends to itself faithfully. Even in elder years, tissues renew, wounds close, and cells divide, though with patience rather than speed. It is soothing to reflect that aging is not simply decline, but also transformation. The body may slow, but it also gathers stability. The systems, though less vigorous, remain coordinated. The rhythms of life continue: the breath, the heartbeat, the steady cycles of sleep and wake. In aging, there is still balance, still adaptation, still the quiet constancy of homeostasis. Beyond the physical, aging carries renewal in another form, the renewal of perspective. As years pass, experiences accumulate, and the mind draws meaning from them. Just as the body adapts to its changing tissues, the spirit adapts to its changing journey, finding calm in reflection, depth in memory, and peace in continuity. The body ages, but the essence of life remains, steady and enduring. To imagine aging is to picture the turning of seasons. Spring brings growth, summer strength, autumn reflection, and winter quiet. Each season is necessary. Each has its beauty, and together they form the full circle of life. Renewal does not always mean restoration to youth. Sometimes it means the renewal of balance, of acceptance, of wisdom. The body, even as it changes, continues to serve as the vessel of life's unfolding story. This is the story of aging and renewal, the final theme in our gentle exploration of human anatomy. From the first cell to the final breath, the body sustains, protects, adapts, and grows. It is a quiet harmony of systems, each one interconnected, each one devoted to the preservation of balance. To rest with this understanding is to see the body not only as structure and function, but as a living symphony, unfolding across time, always adjusting, always seeking equilibrium, always carrying the quiet wonder of life.